This week, we're going to be talking about the week of February 27th through March 5th. Mercury is going to be in Pisces. So, we're going to have several planets transiting through air and fire signs, aligning together. It's going to be igniting an expressive energy that encourages you to face yourself. Relationships require authenticity, as now is the time to make plans for the future. In order to get what you want, you need to be real about what you want. Mercury begins its transit through Pisces, bringing your conscious awareness to the unconscious realm. With all this expressive relationship energy bubbling up, there's also going to be a lot of reflection on how you even got to this point. Be mindful of how you're speaking to yourself and be sure to show yourself compassion.
The weekly transit.
Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth. I'm Scott Tajarian. I'm an interpreter of this language. Join me and my co-host Ingrid Iverson, who helps bring an even more practical look at this astral language. The weekly transit is here to bring clarity to the chaos, so you can ride the planetary waves instead of the planets riding you.
The weekly transit.
Good morning, Scott.
Hi, Ingrid.
You've just been watching me have a meltdown for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'm like, Ingrid, hello? Hello? Hello?
I think I just feel overstimulated and everything was irritating me. My hair wasn't getting right. Somehow I put my makeup on that I use every day. I couldn't find it, or my makeup brushes. I'm not sure how I misplaced them every day, but I just felt like I was losing my mind. And then the color looked like it was purple, and and my headphones aren't working. Who's ready?
Yes.
Who's ready for this week?
Yes.
I'm finally not coughing my head off, so that's exciting.
Well, that's good. Yeah. That's a step in the right direction.
So I heard that you got to go on a cool ass trip.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about that on the
No?
on the podcast though.
Why?
No,
How
because that's
come?
like it's like a client personal thing. I don't know. It
Is it a
just
secret?
seems too personal to like
What? I'm sharing all my dirty laundry out here. You don't want to share your cool
yeah, but
trip?
but that's okay. I guess the difference is that
It's
you
not
know
you?
it's not me. Well, no, like no. What I'm saying is I don't know. I I guess I'm surprised by like this talking about this. It's like yeah, a client sent me to like flew me out to where she lives to do like a party. So yeah, it's cool. It's very cool, very fun. It's like my first business trip as an astrologer.
Right? I
So
don't know. I thought it was
yeah,
the coolest thing ever. I was so excited for
it
you.
is cool. It is cool. But then I'm also just like, I don't know. I guess I'm paranoid about like privacy and that sort of stuff. But obviously, we're not saying her name. And, you know, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Scott got
Uh,
scared.
no, it's cool. It's like a dream come true. It's like I'm just at this party and all these guests at the party are coming up to me one at a time, sometimes maybe two at a time or whatever, and wanting to hear about their astrology. No, yeah, it was amazing, amazing.
Do you want me to leave this
Put me
in, or
up
do
in
you
a
want to start over and since you've collected yourself and just tell about like so you don't feel like you're giving away? I think you got nervous about sharing like privacy stuff.
yeah. You can just leave it as it is. I don't
Okay.
care.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have to start over. I just don't want to make like a big deal out of it. I don't know. It is a big deal. It is cool. Uh, it is amazing to get flown someplace and put up in a
You
hotel
just don't like to
and
brag, and I like to brag about you.
thank you. Thank you.
I was like telling my
So
friends, I'm like, oh my God, Scott just went on this really cool trip. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess I understand just not wanting to be like braggy about it, and it is very personal, but like, Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
special. They liked you so much that they flew you out to their private party so you could do little mini readings for everyone there.
amazing.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I want to do that. That
exactly.
sounds so much fun.
That's exactly it. Yeah, totally. So, yeah, I mean, just incredible. Amazing. Uh yeah,
Impromptu weekend trip.
it wasn't even a weekend. It was like the middle of the week. Like she messaged me on Monday and was like, "Yeah, I'm having this party on Thursday. I know it's last minute, but
Come through.
um I was thinking of hiring just like a local tarot reader, but I was like, wouldn't it be even more epic or badass to, fly Scott out here and have him, like, I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that.
Yay.
And yeah, so, and she was very gracious to let me like use her home to like do my other readings and stuff.
Aw,
Because I was like, I have other readings, so and I not gonna cancel those.
yeah.
So I was able to still do
To
all
work.
my other readings while I was at her house.
Dude, you're like an
And
Scott's an astrology addict. Like everything he does is just amazing to me. It just energizes you more. You're like, okay, more astrology.
yes. So yeah, it was awesome. Very cool. Yeah. So much
Um,
fun. Just like blown away by the whole experience.
and then before we get into anything else, did you want to thank our sponsors?
Oh, sure, of course.
And
So,
then while he's pulling those up, if you're new to the podcast and you want to follow along, the best thing to do is, if you can, we have video. You can go on YouTube or Spotify and watch what we're doing here. Or you can go to our website, theweeklytransit.com. All the visuals that we talk about, the drawings, the symbols, they are all on there, as well as the journal prompts. That's going to be on the forecast tab. So it's kind of like the weather report, but for the planets and stars. And then we also have a book that is The Basics of Astrology. It's on Amazon. You can search the weekly transit or the basics of astrology, or you can go to the website and it'll link you there. You can get a paperback version or a Kindle downloadable version, or there is a shop in North Hollywood, the Crystal Shrine, also has
mm,
copies available as well.
that's awesome. I love that. Yes. So let's thank our sponsors: Jasmine, Brenna, Kendra, Barbara, Grace, Janelle, Vincent and Michelle, Clarissa, Nicole, Aline, Robin, Cassie, Merdinas, Brooke, Ricky, Amaranth, Larry, Libby, Annie, Amber, Stephanie, Deborah, Haley, Janine, Carrie, and Catherine.
Thank you, thank you, thank you all so much for donating and supporting the podcast. We appreciate you so much. It allows us to do more of what we love, sharing the planets and stars with you. And if you would like to support the podcast, if you go to the show notes, there's a support link. You can donate $1, $5, or $10 a month, and that helps us do more of this.
Yes. And I also want to make another announcement as well,
What you
because
got?
somebody messaged me on Instagram. I was like, thank you so much for for saying this last week on the podcast, because they almost got duped by the
Oh,
frauds that are impersonating me on Instagram. And I don't know if they're still active or if they've gone away or what, but it's just a reminder to everyone that if you would like to do a reading with me, the way to do that is to go to the website, theweeklytransit.com. I will never solicit you. You'll never receive any unsolicited messages from me on Instagram or in any other platform. I'll never email you. I'll never message you on any social media platform and say, hey, I think we need to do a reading. And, I want to do a reading with you. Send money. Like they said, send a donation to PayPal. And she was like, well, do I have to send the donation beforehand? And they're like, yes. And she just kind of got weirded out about it, and so
oh, that's
she didn't do
so
it, thank
annoying.
goodness.
It
So
keeps happening. So yeah, if you
yeah.
see any other Instagram handles or whatever that look like the weekly transit, there's not. It's never going to change. It's always the same. No one's ever going to message you from there about
Hmm.
getting readings. So if you see them, report them, please.
Yes, they'll put like they'll spell the weekly transit with like 3 E's, or they'll put a
Little
dash
underscore.
underscore or something like that. And they'll,
I mean, I think that
if
means
you
we've
look
made it.
closely, what's that?
I said I think that means you've made it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I'm being flown places to do astrology, and people are impersonating me on the internet.
God, the
So
scammers
uh,
make me feel violent. It's so rude. Fuck, get a
it's like,
real
get a
job.
life, get a
Yeah.
life. Like that's seriously, like
It's so
these
much
people should
energy,
contact me
too.
for a reading so I can help them, figure out
Find
what
their
they need to be
purpose.
doing. Yeah, exactly. It's like your purpose is not
Be
to
you.
con other people. Like they're clearly working with the shadow side of whatever their gifts are, and it's sad. It's sad that people feel like that's the best that they can do, is manipulate people, and by impersonating other people and trying to get them to send them money. I mean, just the whole con, it's awful. It's awful. So
Well, hopefully
yes.
nobody got duped.
Yeah, hope not. So yes, please report them, and thank you for all of your support, everyone who's continued to reach out to me about these frauds.
Do we have any other announcements for the week or
Let's
questions?
let's move on in. Let's move on into the week. Yeah. So this is the week of February 27th to March 5th. February 25th. Yeah, it's so funny because February is such a short month. I'm like, really? It's till March 5th? Okay, yeah, because there's only 28 days in February. So, this is one of those things where it's like there's, well, whatever. I don't even want to get into this. It's because I'm already wrapping my brain in a pretzel. So, let's just move into Monday, February 27th. Monday, February 27th, when we're looking at the sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality, in the sign, the mutable water sign symbolized by the fish, Pisces, which represents illusion, deception. So maybe that's part of this, like, sort of, thing, like people deceiving other people, creating these illusions, pretending to be me. But with the sun in Pisces, as of course Neptune in Pisces, as it's been since 2011, 2012. Neptune's a planetary ruler of Pisces, but the sun is bringing that vitality to the dream, to the fantasy, to the illusion. The sun is squaring off with the moon, the planet of emotions, in the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins, Gemini. And the moon is also forming an aspect, a sextile, supportive sextile with Venus, Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, in the cardinal fire sign, symbolized by the ram, Aries. So this is the moon really aligning with two other planets, with the sun and Venus. This is all happening at 8 degrees. So look in your astrological code. Do you have anything at 8 degrees in any sign? Because if it's in any sign, it's making a contact with at least one of these planets, if not all of them. So just depending on what sign it's in. But if there's anything near to 8 degrees, it's being hit by this alignment of the sun, the moon, and Venus. So what does this mean? The sun in Pisces, it's bringing attention to the unconscious. The moon in Aries is bringing emotional sensitivity to the conscious. So the sun is in the unconscious, the moon is in the sign of the
Wait,
conscious. And
wait.
what's
You
that?
said the moon in Aries.
Oh, did I say the moon in Aries?
Mm.
I meant the moon in Gemini. Sorry, Ingrid. Yes. So the moon in Gemini is the sign of the unconscious, is the sign of the conscious. So the sun is in Pisces, the sign of the unconscious. The moon is in Gemini, the sign of the conscious. And Venus is in Aries, the sign of courage and authenticity. So Venus transiting through Aries right now, it's about authentically expressing your values, your likes and dislikes in your close personal relationships. what is that doing? What is that bringing up? You know, there could be conflicts in relationships right now because when you're being authentic, it can bring some things up. And what is it bringing up within your unconscious? Is there some sort of guilt, shame, regret, or blame that is occurring with this these conflicts that are happening potentially within your relationships? And what are the questions that you can ask? That's the moon in Gemini, is asking questions that are going to satisfy your emotions. What are the answers that you're looking for? Hopefully, through all of this, we're going to pour everything out on the table and it's going to stimulate something within you. And we're going to be able to question what is here on the table. What does this mean? What does it mean for you? What does it mean for me? And finding peace.
I think that the idea of asking ourselves these questions about our emotions and being conscious about them, but then we're looking at our unconscious to get like the answers,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes we don't like what we find in the dark corners. So it's like we're supposed to be asking those questions and being introspective, but then we might find some things that we don't want to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to affect our relationships in essentially a positive way though. It's like we're going to get the questions answered so that sextile is like, oh, being direct, asking the questions is going to positively impact your relationships by knowing ourselves better or knowing the people around us better.
Yes,
I have like
exactly.
a small example. I The guy that I see sometimes he just doesn't like to be like as like affectionate or like physically like fucked with, and sometimes I get like I'm always love affection. So sometimes but he never says like, hey, don't fuck with me right now. I'm not feeling it. I can only, and he never says that, but I can tell by his response, like either he's very lovey or he just doesn't have a big response. And I was just like, can you just tell me when you don't feel like being fucked with?
Mm-hmm.
Because then I won't feel like having to like read the room like after the fact. I'm like, just tell me you don't want me to bother you. I don't care. It's not gonna affect me emotionally if you're just like, I'm fucking overwhelmed. Don't fucking poke at me. And he's
Yes.
like, well, and his instead of his answer being like, oh, okay, I'll do that. He's like, well, sometimes I just don't know how I'm feeling until the moment that it happens.
Mm.
So I don't know if I can actually accommodate that request. Like that would be great if I could always do that, but like usually when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I won't even know till after the fact of like what was causing the overwhelm. So it's not intentional. Like I wish I could communicate that, but anyways, in the end, he was explaining more about it was like the difference between men and women. Sometimes like women want to talk about things a lot that's in their nature to understand more, and sometimes more masculine energy is just like they don't have the words to describe what they're feeling, and it's not out of malice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that he's like, I don't even have the words to describe it, so I don't know what I would even say in the moment until maybe the moment has passed and I'm able to like process what has happened, and then I could tell you. Because I've had,
Yes.
this has happened like numerous times, but I felt like we had like a really enjoyable, like educational almost conversation about it where I'm like, oh, okay, we're just different, and that's okay. Like, it's okay that sometimes I fuck with him and he's just like, doesn't have a response. Like, I don't need to take either thing personal. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm trying to avoid getting my feelings hurt by being like, oh, if you explain it this way, then I won't feel this way. He's like, well, I can't always do that though. And either way, it
Exactly.
doesn't matter. I'm not doing it. He's like, I'm just having my own internal experience of my whole life. So it has nothing to really do with you. It's just in the moment. Anyways, I thought it was an interesting way of the curiosity and the questions, and then a little bit of discomfort of, processing the answer and then being like, oh, okay, there was a positive outcome of we had a great conversation and we both left feeling like, okay, like we kind of got a little bit more insight as to our inner workings.
I love it. Good. Good. You were able to really understand him better and
Yeah,
maybe look within yourself to see where
100%.
some of those, what is it about his reaction that is, stirring something within me?
Yeah, totally, totally. I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like I mean, it always comes back to not everything's about me. We're all having our own internal experience. So unless someone's doing something on purpose or like to to make you feel bad or like they're doing something like aggressive, I'm like, there's nothing like bad happening. It's just not the response that I anticipated. So I'm trying to avoid that to always get what I want.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, that's not realistic. Yeah, definitely being able to reflect upon like what are my unmet needs that I'm expecting someone else to fulfill.
Exactly. Yes. So Tuesday, February 28th, we're looking at the moon again in Gemini, which is transited to the edge of the sign, the 29th degree, where it forms a supportive trine with Saturn, the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, and authority, in the fixed air sign, symbolized by the water bear and ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is completing its transit now. We've got just over a week or about a week left of Saturn transiting through Aquarius. Next week, it moves into Pisces, and it's not coming back to Aquarius again for another 29 years. So this has been a long haul. You know, it moved into Aquarius back in December of 2021. Let me just double check that to be sure.
So this is kind of like the introverted extroverted
No,
energy.
it moved in. Yeah, it moved into Saturn moved into Aquarius in December of 2020. So when you think about restriction in the community, December 2020 is when Saturn moved into Aquarius. This is the last week of it transiting through Aquarius. It's not getting back to Aquarius until, let's see, that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be 2050.
So it's kind of an end of an era right now.
2050. Yeah. I mean, just thinking about 2050 is the next time Saturn is going to be in Aquarius. 2050. How old will you be
Okay.
in 2050?
30
So,
years?
yeah, 30
28
years from
years?
now. Well, 27 years from now.
Okay.
So, this aspect with the moon in Gemini aligning with Saturn in Aquarius, what have you learned? Think back. Think, what have you learned about the group, the club, the organization, the social network, the social cause? What have you learned about that since December of 2020?
So why are you asking about where does the learning part come in? Just the curiosity from Gemini
Yeah.
is okay.
Yes.
When I
The moon in
think of
Gemini.
when I think of um learning, wait, I was thinking of Sagittarius, like the philosophy. Never mind, because I was like higher learning, right?
That's higher learning, but
Sagittarians.
that's Sagittarius is more about teaching
Okay.
than learning,
Okay.
because Sagittarius is the professor, it's the philosopher, it's somebody who's done the higher education. So they're not asking the questions. Gemini's asking the question
So they can learn.
so they can learn.
Okay.
Exactly. So the moon in Gemini aligning with Saturn, this is taking emotional responsibility for what you've learned.
I mean,
What
I
are you
guess
going to
some
take? Yeah, what? Go
I
for
guess
it.
like when
Go
I
for it.
first think of it, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, what questions do I need to be asking in the community? But I mean, I guess the bigger question is, what do I want to learn? Like, we learn by asking the questions, but what do I want to learn from the community? Or what have I learned from the community is kind of like the even more bigger picture.
Yes, because this has been the question for the last, let's see, all of 2021, all of 2022, part
So
of
now we're
2020,
so
and
now we're
part of
wrapping it up.
2023. So, how many times has the moon in Gemini aspected Saturn in Aquarius? I mean, I didn't look back and count, but it would be probably 25, 26 times.
That's a lot.
We've been asking, what do I want to learn from the community? What are the questions that I want to ask from the community? So now it's like, what have you learned?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Taking
this makes sense.
responsibility for what you've learned from the community, from the group. What have you learned about yourself in relation to the group context?
It's such an important question because we can be curious all day and ask the questions and like be absorbing it in the moment. But if we don't reflect on what we've actually accumulated the knowledge of, like what are we doing with the knowledge? We can just keep asking questions or we can do a review. And I think that the review sometimes we don't make time for. I don't know, like maybe in sort of like a corporate setting, it's like there's times where you get to the end of a project and you review it with each other, like when you're in a group team type of setting. We're like, okay, how can we do this better next time? But when we're talking about our personal lives, there's not many moments in life where you reflect on what you've learned and move forward. I mean, I think that's why astrology is such an amazing tool. Like, how often are we like, okay, let's take aside, like, let's set aside like 30 minutes to think about what we learned over the last 3 years. I think it's
Yes.
a lot can happen just from being reflective in that way. I mean, I think some people are like, oh, like astrology is like, oh, it's like magic. It's like, well, actually, it's pretty like practical advice for if you want to have any personal growth and reflection going on to learn from our mistakes, then setting aside time to ask ourselves these important questions can be very powerful.
Totally. And so today might be a day where it's like, well, who do you want to reflect with?
Ooh,
Like maybe you're getting together with
I
a
love
group
that.
of people and you're having a conversation about what have I learned about society and community and the group context and what it means to take responsibility for your role in society or within your community or your neighborhood, your village, and having that conversation and listening to what other people have to reflect and share. That's what this is about. Shall we move on to Wednesday, Ingrid?
Yeah.
Okay. Wednesday, March 1st. Venus continues on through Aries and forms a conjunction with Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion. So you have Venus, Lady Luck, and Jupiter, the planet of luck, together in the courageous sign of Aries. So today is the day to truly be authentic in your close personal relationships, to show up, to be real, to share what's important to you. What are you looking for from the future for your relationships? What's the status of your relationships right now, and where do you see it headed? Where are your relationships going? Where would you like them to go? Today is a day where you can authentically express your values in relationship and what you would like to share with others.
And is this, I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing today, but is this going to be easy today?
I think it's going to be a push.
Okay. We're going to just feel
So-
the force of needing to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
So it might be easy, or it might be hard because you're holding back and you're not wanting to say what you really want to say or share what you want to share or show up in a way that's real to you. And what have you been hiding in your relationships or hiding from in your relationships? Or do you feel like your partner's hiding something from you? And what is it that you want to, or not want to, but need to express to those that you're in relationship with?
I mean, I think it's very important to be able to, whether or not you feel excited about sharing it, and like, you know, we're planning a future together. What do you want to do? Like, it could feel really exciting or it could feel really scary. Like, what if they don't want the same things? Then they're gonna, you know, there's gonna be some sort of disconnect. But regardless or irregardless, regardless,
Regardless? I don't know,
regardless of
irregardless.
regardless of the answer, we're not going to be living authentically if we are not both on the same page. If we don't want the same things, then that's not planning for the future. If we're planning two different things, it just doesn't even make any sense. So that's not a good
Exactly.
match.
Yes. I feel like the opportunity is to authentically share what it is you want out of your relationship and where you see it moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
If you hold back from taking that opportunity, you may be pushed in that direction anyway.
I mean, eventually it's going to come out in some sort of conflict if it's.
Well, I'm saying today could be the conflict where it does come
Oh.
out.
Okay, okay.
If you're not already being proactive. If you're not being proactive, then today something could come up that is pushing you.
That's that Aries energy.
Exactly. Yes. All right. Another conjunction for Thursday, March 2nd, with Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld. The planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination forms a conjunction at the final degree of Aquarius with Saturn before it transits into Pisces. So big themes this week. Like when you just look at it, the week of what we've experienced here, like we've got the unconscious, but we've got authenticity and communication. We've got more communication on Tuesday, more expressiveness on Wednesday, and then Thursday, communication and the unconscious. So, what is it that you want to share with those around you, those within the group context? What is the conversation that needs to be had? What ideas? Innovative ideas, unique ideas, ideas that other people might say that's crazy, or some might say that's outside the box. I'm interested in that. What are those ideas that you have? And who would you like to share those ideas with? Can you take responsibility for these ideas, for your innovative ideas?
Oh, I was also just thinking that these innovative ideas that we might have, maybe we've in the past thought of them with this Pisces energy where it's just a dream, just a fantasy, an illusion of like, oh, one day, but like not actually planning for it or doing anything to make it happen. But maybe today we're like taking these, you know, daydreams and we're actually sharing them with the community and seeing what happens. I was just telling my friend, like, you have all these ideas, but you don't share them with anyone. Like, you need to have a team to share them with. And, like, maybe some of them are good and some of them are bad. But, like, I used to be very precious about my ideas. I'm like, oh, I have to do it all myself. I have to write the bio. I have to write everything myself. I have to manually do this myself. And I need every piece of the project to be mine. Otherwise, it's not authentic. And it's like, well, maybe I'll write all my ideas down. I'm going to get my friend Meryl to edit my writing because I'm not a writer and then put that together. I'm going to show it to you because you write. We're all going to collaborate and maybe it's my idea, but it's really, using the team of our peers and our community to actually see what's good. They're going to pick the best parts. They're not going to just say that's a fucking stupid ass idea. I hate you. They're going to be like, okay, well, I don't know about that idea, but I like this idea of yours. Let's work on that. Like, you're going to attract people from the community that really believe in whatever these daydreams are, and that's where you can make things happen. Like, the community is important, otherwise they're just dreams. Like,
Yes, interesting. I see this as like sort of a different transition when it's moving from Aquarius to Pisces, where it's like you share that idea with all those people, with Meryl, and they give you the feedback and everything, and then they leave,
okay,
and then you're left alone,
okay,
and now all of their voices are swimming in your head. The different, you shared your idea, they reflected your idea, you had a conversation about it. Now it goes back and forth in your mind. You're replaying the conversation. What are the
in like a good
feelings?
way or a bad? Like,
Either or.
okay.
Either or.
You
Could
could be
be either.
reflecting on, oh, they liked these things. Maybe I should work on them more. Or you could be like more critical and be like, oh no, I'm embarrassed that they didn't like something.
Exactly. And then now you're in some kind of mental spiral where you need to show yourself compassion.
Oh, the healing.
And that's what Pisces is about. And that's what Mercury is going to be about in Pisces, is bringing that conscious awareness to your unconscious mind. This is going to be from March 2nd until March 2nd to the 18th. March 2nd to the 18th. So think
Ah,
back to March 9th to the 27th of 2021, or March 15th to April 3rd of 20, I'm sorry, March 9th to the 27th of 2022, and March 15th to April 3rd of 2021. Those were the last two times that Mercury was transiting through Pisces. So if you think back to those dates and what was going on, maybe that gives you some clues to what could be happening moving forward. But, this is a period of deep introspection where you are pondering, asking questions to yourself,
mm,
or maybe the conversations that you're having with others are really stirring something up
hmm.
within you, where you start having these conversations with yourself.
You're
and,
like ruminating.
and somebody's like, where did you go, Ingrid? And you're like, oh, was I?
Oh, I see. I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. You just went into your own mind of,
Yes.
hmm,
Where you catch someone and they're just kind of like staring off, and you're like, what's going
are you
on
here?
in
Are you here?
there right now? And it's like, oh, I don't know. I
Do
was
you
just
think?
having this weird conversation.
Well, I'm just noticing. So it's a water air connection. So if it was maybe,
Well, it's an air connection. See, let's look at this again.
okay.
This is air, but Mercury's moving into water.
Okay. Because I
So
was,
I guess it is still conjunct with Saturn when it's at 0 degrees in Pisces, but it's moved on to the next sign. It's different than if we're looking at Scorpio water squaring air
okay.
Aquarius, because Scorpio and Aquarius make a very strong aspect because they're both fixed,
Mm.
but air
They each
and
have their
water.
own
But
special connection.
but
There's no way
this
to
is
really.
it's still this is still a conjunction.
Okay.
So I don't look at it as water air. I'm looking at it as air,
Okay.
and then Mercury moves into Pisces. And I mean, that does bring, I mean, it's still resonating here, no doubt.
Yeah.
Um,
I was just thinking it
but
makes it a little more difficult because it's like water or air. Like,
I think you're
what's your
right.
little rhyme?
I think you're right. But it's difficult in that it's the difficulty of the neighboring energies of Aquarius and Pisces.
Yeah.
There's a real shift in the energy when planets move from Aquarius to Pisces, because Aquarius is very detached. It's very social. It's very community oriented. It's very fact, logic based. But Pisces
All feelings.
is the woo, it's the woo woo, like the feeling, like you said, connecting to the universe, connecting to all that is and all that ever will be and all that ever has been, and knowing that I'm one with the universe and the universe is one with me. And does the drop merge into the ocean, or does the ocean merge into the drop? It's that whole like thing that just gets your mind rolling off into this space that is not logical, and you're feeling what other people are feeling, and it's affecting you. Where
Yeah.
Aquarius is like, okay, I see that this person's suffering, but what can I do to help? I'll help them, but I'm not going to take on their pain and suffering as my own. Where Pisces does. So there's going to be a heaviness to the mental process from March 2nd to the 18th. We go from this air to the depths of the ocean.
I peeked ahead to
Yeah, I
Friday.
knew it. I could tell you were down. Like, Ingrid's looking ahead. Gemini rising already moved on to the next day.
I gotta know. I gotta know.
Friday, March 3rd. Venus, which was forming a conjunction on March 1st. Now it's an exact conjunction with Chiron. And of course, this is a frequency that we're going to be feeling all week. It's not like it's happening today and then tomorrow it's gone. It's still there. It's still resonating because obviously Mercury or Venus and Jupiter at 12 degrees, Chiron right here at 13 degrees. So Chiron is the wound and the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound. Venus is there, facing our insecurities in our close personal relationships. Think of everything that's going on this week. We're asking questions of our relationships, delving into our unconscious, our feeling. We're trying to keep it logical and light and asking questions. But then there's the need to be authentic and courageous in our close personal relationships. Then we're also more logic, taking responsibility for our thoughts, but going deep. What's going on in my mind? What are these thoughts? How are these things occurring in my life? What's going on in my unconscious? It's creating my conscious reality. And it could be bringing up a lot of fears around relationships. So what are you afraid of in your close personal relationships? What are you afraid in terms of yourself? What are you afraid in terms of your partner? What are you insecure about with regards to yourself, to those that you're in partnership with?
I mean, I think that based on what's already happened this week, is the perfect time to start reflecting on that because we maybe have dabbled in those areas and now we're like, okay, wait, why did I do that? What are my insecurities? Why did I feel that way? Like that, and that's also how we heal the wound to our self-confidence, is to be able to ask ourselves uncomfortable questions. Like you said, on Monday, you were like, okay, well, that's obvious. You need to be reflecting on like, why do I need someone to fulfill like something outside of myself? Like, why is that poking at me in a certain way? Because nothing really happened. It's like it's in me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I love that you bring that up because whatever's bubbling to the surface and coming out there in relationships, these fears, that's what's going on with Venus and Jupiter and Chiron and Aries. But then Mercury dropping into Pisces, which is, oh wow, needing to reflect these insecurities within myself. And these insecurities may stem from feeling guilty or feeling shameful or embarrassed or regretful about something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like maybe the fear is stemming around something that, like, well, I don't want that to happen again because in my last relationship, I did XYZ and I don't want that to happen again. So maybe you need to forgive yourself or show yourself compassion for XYZ
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to get to a stage in the new relationship where you're going to have to face the demons of your past relationships.
Yeah, you have to go through the conflict. You can't avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
We would like to, but it's just unrealistic. We have to have the uncomfortable moments so we can actually grow.
Exactly. It's like there's this thought that, oh, well, I've met my person now, and all those other relationships, they're just in the past. And now everything is going to be happily ever after, the end of the story, credits roll.
Well, that's what you always think at first. At first, it's all
Totally.
so magical. There's never any conflicts, and it's like the more you get into it, the more things come up from the past. There's not all the shiny, sparkly, like cortisol, whatever what is it? You know what I'm saying? Whatever chemicals, like the love chemicals, they're still
Yeah.
there, but they don't overshadow all the other shit where you're like, oh, this makes me feel like when I was like a kid, like you're irritated today. Well, I don't want anyone to ever be irritated because then I don't feel good. It's just like, yeah, learning that all those things, those will eventually sneak in there and we have to look at ourselves because it's really no one's doing it. I mean, sometimes people are doing things to us, but most of the time We need to figure out what's happening in ourselves.
Well, part of, whatever they're doing to you, that's again like, and it's not like, if something awful happens to you, it's awful, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, in getting deep in this Pisces energy, we want to ask ourselves, how did I end up in this situation?
Oh my God, that's the
How did I
worst question.
manifest
God.
this into my life? Like I understand that I may be a victim of this situation right now, but I also need to empower myself in some way and recognize that, did I manifest? How do I what
Dude,
is going on here?
when we like kind of early in our friendship, like maybe 6 months in, you were asking me that in such like a confronting way because I felt very much like a victim in my whole breakup. And like, you were just like, well, you didn't make these things happen, but you're allowing them. So like you have to take responsibility for what you're allowing into your life. It's
Mm-hmm.
fucking true. Like it's hard to take a look at yourself and be like, "Oh, I'm a part of this. I'm showing I keep showing up here and allowing people to treat me this way." You have to make steps to change what is happening around you. You can't change other people, but you can decide who you want to keep in your life and what you will accept from other people, and your thought process and just your community, like who do you surround yourself with, and not looking like, when we look at ourselves like a victim, it's like we're not actually growing. We're just
Mm-hmm.
sitting there like
Yeah.
a crybaby. It's like, okay, well, what are you going to
Yes.
do now? What
Mm-hmm.
next?
Like for you, like when you were going through all the breakup stuff, I mean, it's like, boy, oh boy, like the demons that you were dealing with in your mind. And when you've shared with me like some of the traumas that you've experienced in your past relationships, it's like, okay, well, and this is happening now again to a lesser degree, but it's still happening.
I remember you like
And
almost like laughing and being like, "This is all. These are like this. Yeah, maybe it's
mhm,
less, but like these same fucking things are happening. Like it's not rocket science. It's a pattern, and it's my responsibility to break the pattern and to ask myself the deep questions to get myself to recognize these things so I don't repeat them. Because otherwise, if we're not conscious of it, we don't even try to make ourselves conscious. If we don't try to make ourselves conscious of it, there's no way that it's just going to magically disappear.
but I think it's also for you to show yourself compassion
Mhm.
for being in that situation in the first place, because so often we're in a situation that is undesirable.
Yeah.
And what do we say to ourselves? You're so fucking dumb.
How
You
did
should
I
have
let this
known better.
happen?
You're so stupid. You're a fucking idiot. You should have known better. You got fooled again.
Mm-hmm.
No, you have to be compassionate to yourself.
Mm.
That's beating up the victim.
Mm.
It's like people talk about victim blaming, but it's like, as the victim, are you blaming yourself?
Yeah. It's
You
also
need
very
to
easy
show
to do that.
yourself compassion for being in whatever fucked up situation you're in.
Yeah.
You need to show yourself compassion.
Mm. That's such a
And
good
so,
reminder.
yes. Okay. Moving on to Saturday, March 4th. Jupiter, again in Aries, the moon has now transited onto Leo, the fixed fire sign symbolized by the lion. So, this is giving you the courage to really open your heart, express your emotions, be big in your emotional expression. This is where you roar back, you stand up for yourself, and you're heard, you're seen, you're recognized, you're appreciated. That's what this is about. So, what is in your heart that you would like to express in order to see your future in all of its great abundance, rather than, I fucked it up again, I'm going to fuck it up again in the future? I just
Yeah.
know that's the unconscious role that you're playing in your life, that this always happens to me, so I'm just going to expect it to happen again. Well, that's your unconscious default.
Yeah.
So today is a day to really open your heart and authentically express your joy, your pleasure. That's what you deserve. Joy, pleasure, fun. What is that for you? Tap into your heart today. And fun? I mean, how many people they meet, they're like, yeah, what is fun for me?
I
I don't
mean,
really
literally,
know
when you
what
said
fun
that,
is.
sometimes I forget. And you know what? The people in my life that bring the fun, that remind me to play and have fun, are always the Leo energy. It's the like having Leos in my life, like Chris, Meryl, who else? Anyways, they always bring that childlike excitement to
Yes.
just be ridiculous and silly and yeah, just actually play. And
Mm-hmm.
it's I because I for me I just I have a hard time accessing that, and sometimes we need a reminder or people in our life that can draw that out of us.
Yes, exactly. So grab your favorite Leo today
Mhm.
and go do something fun. And if you don't know, they will know
They'll
something
know. They
fun to
always
do.
know.
Exactly. Exactly. At the very least, I mean, it's like, well, let's go outside and get in the sun and enjoy. Hopefully it's a sunny day wherever you are, but this is a day to really get in the sun and soak up those vital rays of light. Okay. And then getting back into the deep on Sunday, March 5th, with Mercury in Pisces. Oh, this is not supposed to be a square. I drew the wrong thing here. It's supposed to be a sextile. Let me just fix that real quick here. Scott made a mistake. Let me fix.
He did
Yes,
not.
I know. Oh
Shame,
my God.
shame.
My God, I'm going to show myself compassion right now. I'm not going to beat myself up over this. It's okay. Okay,
Well,
Scott.
if I'm reflecting on kind of like looking back on yesterday, we're like playing, we're having fun, we're expressing ourselves, like, and now today we're reflecting on what is like the Taurus energy is what we value, and
Mm-hmm.
our North Node, like what is our purpose and what do we value. And I
Yes.
think when we having that day yesterday, that play day, I think that the next day you're like, oh yeah, like maybe these are the things that are important to me. This yesterday made me feel so good. What do I need to be doing? And then connecting with Mercury in Pisces, we're like
We're
conscious of
back.
this.
Here it is.
we're,
Yes.
we're maybe conscious of our unconscious things that have been lingering. Like maybe we aren't playing enough. Like what do we need to be doing to call in to our life the things that we actually value?
So you're playing, you're
Mm-hmm.
having fun, and through that
The next day,
play,
you're
what's
like, well,
that?
why? Well, I'm thinking just the next day, like, well, why don't I do that more? Like that's the reflection day where you're like, oh, I value joy, I value whatever the thing is you value where you're enjoying yesterday, you want to call
Mm-hmm.
that in more. So you're kind of being like, okay, well, how do I how do I keep that fire alive?
Yes. How do I bring the dream into reality?
Ooh,
That's what
yeah.
this is about. How do I
Okay.
bring the dream into reality? I had fun and it was so much fun that this is something now that I've been dreaming about having that fun again. How can I bring that fun into reality? How can I bring the dream into reality that satisfies my likes and dislikes, my material senses, the five physical senses, like what stimulates me on a physical level: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. What is that?
I feel like
What is, yes.
I feel like this pattern happens to me a lot, especially after I have a fun, playful, exciting, like vitality, like filled day. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, wait, I am excited to be here. I am excited about life. How do I call in more of that? Like, what am I not doing? What do I need to do? What inspired me yesterday? What was, in my house, I decided having some weird, a rearranged day, of course. And I was like, oh, I just realized I had so much fun at the gym, dancing and stretching and all the things that make me feel good. You know what they have there? They have a big fucking mirror. You know what I did last time I rearranged? I moved my mirror out of where my pole is and out of where I have open space. And I was like, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to have a mirror in this area where there's open space where I can stretch and dance and feel good. Or it's
Yes.
like, I cleaned my house. I had a friend over and I was like enjoying my space and it felt clean and beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I'm having so much fun. Like, why am I having so much fun? Oh, I'm sharing my space that, spend all of this time and energy making it look beautiful. But if I don't have anyone to share it with, it's not as special. And like, even just there's like a lingering effect afterwards of being like, oh, I actually just love my space, whether I'm sharing it or not sharing it. Like, this is something I appreciate. And sometimes I forget that that's something that I love, is just curating my space, making it look nice for me or for someone else.
Well,
So,
when you moved your mirror,
mhm.
what did that do for you?
Well, I got excited about a shelf and I put the shelf where the mirror was and I wanted to display the beautiful shelf, but then it kind of changed the whole vibe of the house and my mirror went like in the corner in my bedroom where there's no space.
You need the mirror in a place where
Mhm.
you can see yourself.
Yeah, where it's useful.
And I don't think you want it in the bedroom. That's like bad feng shui.
Well, we can't even bring up feng shui around here. Gabrielle can never see. I have so many mirrors.
Well,
but they're
I
not
think
all
it's good to
useful,
have a mirror in certain places. Yeah. Like, I think you want a mirror over the stove
which I put specifically for
because,
the feng shui. I did put one over my stove.
yeah, that's like abundance. But yeah, in the bedroom, then there's like, I think that's bad for relationships.
Mm.
That's what I've read. So, but I like you having that mirror in the living room. I think it's important for you to like spend time in front of the mirror, you Ingrid, because your Aries North node, which represents the self
Okay.
and rules the face.
Okay.
So spending time looking at yourself in the mirror,
Okay.
figuring out like, who is this person over there on the
So,
other side of that mirror?
someone's like, why do you have so many mirrors? I'm like, bitch, I'm an Aries North node. Don't you get it?
Everywhere I look, I need to see
Okay.
myself.
Okay, I swear I have like all these small, like you can see the one behind me, like all these like
Yeah.
smaller mirrors like on the
Uh-huh.
wall. My sister was like, at first I got here and I was like, oh my God, there's so many mirrors. And then I was like, oh, look at me. I'm cute. Ooh, look at this. Look at that. And then she tripped, hurt her foot doing this cute little scene just about my mirrors. Anyways, it was very silly.
Oh my God.
But yeah, she noticed all the mirrors.
Yes. Did you have a good visit with your sis?
I did. We ate so much good food. Got to show her a little bit of LA. My niece, who's like 10, was here, and I have a pole in the living room. She thought it was the greatest thing that's ever happened. It was like a jungle gym, basically.
Yeah,
So
totally. Yeah.
for 6 hours, she just,
Swinging
jumped
around.
and flung, and it was Anytime anyone would look away, we're like trying to cook. She's like, "Wait, I have something else to show you." Like, I got to show you. I was
That's
like,
hilarious.
I don't really have any like kid stuff at my house, so I actually felt like it was a blessing because she couldn't have been more excited. It felt
She
very
wore
fun.
herself out on the pole.
I was gonna say she wore herself out, but I felt like she just amped herself up and then couldn't sleep.
That's hilarious.
But it was a really fun thing to connect on, just like, dancing and playing, and it felt nice to have something to, just especially with kids. I feel like sometimes I have trouble connecting. So when me and her have similar interests, like one time she was like listening while I was editing when I would stay at her house, the podcast, and she was like, eavesdropping, and it felt really fun. And I was showing her the computer, and so this felt like another time where we just got to connect over something that just feels fun and playful. It felt like very Leo energy, like just being able to play together, and a nice way to connect.
Awesome. And did you tell your sister she needs to contact me?
I did.
Okay.
She was like, oh my God, I was just thinking that, because I was like, I have Scott, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're supposed to have a reading, bitch.
Ingrid bought her sister a reading for me
Forever ago.
for with me for Christmas.
You're being called out right now.
Yeah.
I think she usually listens, so if you hear this.
Yes. Angela, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Angela, contact me. Yeah. If she has issues, of course, just let me know.
Okay.
I'll reach out to her again.
Okay.
But yeah, cool.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome,
you so much,
Ingrid.
Scott.
Yes. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
And I'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. Follow us on Instagram for daily updates about the planetary alignments and how to work with the energy. If this podcast is helping you navigate life more gracefully, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and share with your friends. If you're ready to go deeper, book a personal reading with Scott or sign up for his new moon, full moon class at theweeklytransit.com.
The Weekly Transit.